Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chana and this is Jar of Fireflies. Here I make videos all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 3. And today we are going to recap this crazy year of homeschooling that we've had. Okay, you guys, as far as the year being crazy, this was the craziest year of homeschooling that we have had since we started when my oldest was super tiny. So we have had our last day of school. I posted a video for that. If you've missed it, I will link to that in the description box below. And it's just kind of had on my mind how this past year has gone, like from where we've started to where we've ended up and why we're where we are and all the things. So we're just going to kind of recap it and talk about those changes a little bit and why those changes occurred and how things are working out for my family now. Okay, so to start out this year, I'll link to, by the way, all the videos of some of these major changes that go into more detail of these major changes. I'll link to those videos as well in the description box below if you missed those or if you just want to go back and see more details for yourself. But anyways, for now, the quick recap of how we started our year was we were mainly using the Build Your Library curriculum for my 2 older children. My youngest is only 4, so he does not need a curriculum or anything like that. He just tags along with his big brother and sister. So anyways, for those 2 older kids that are in 1st grade and 3rd grade, we were using the Build Your Library curriculum. I love Build Your Library. I think it's a great curriculum. We have really enjoyed that over the years, and it was completely my intention to keep on using that. However, I found that for me personally, with 2 kids using 2 different Build Your Library curriculums in the grades, kindergarten it was fine, but once they were both in grades, it was too much for me. It was too much reading out loud to my kids. It was just too much coursework in general. I didn't want to spend that many hours a day doing school with my kids, like the sit down book work kind of school with my kids. I wanted us to be able to get out and explore nature and listen to good music and go to plays and go camping and cook together and all these other things that are, to me, a big part of their education. So yeah, I just didn't want to be sitting here at this table reading books and doing work and projects and stuff all day long. So I made the decision to shift away from Build Your Library. Okay, around the same time, we were also using for math an online program for my kids' math. And I started to see that doing math online was not working out for our family either. I wanted to use a more print-based math where my kids were writing and touching things and not just clicking things on a computer, and where I could also be more involved in the actual facilitation of their learning of math. So we decided to shift away from math as well. The Judaic stuff that we started the year out with was working fine for us still. That did not change, at least not at that point. Okay, so we looked into a lot of different things and I ended up deciding to switch most of our coursework over to the good and the beautiful. I really do love the good and the beautiful. We switched our math over, we switched our handwriting over, we switched our science over, and we switched our history over. Okay, and that was all working out great. And then we needed more change. Of course, we needed more change. I started to see that some of those curriculum, like the more that we were diving into it, I realized that some of them weren't as good of a fit for my family as I had originally hoped. Okay, so with the good and the beautiful, we stuck with the math. We absolutely love the math. We're keeping with that. I've already ordered for next year. Like, we love it. Science, same situation. Absolutely love the science. It is so refreshing to have a God-focused, creation-focused science as opposed to like an evolution-based science that removes God from the equation. We are an Orthodox Jewish family. We believe that God created the world, and that's going to come up in our school because that's what I want to teach my kids. So it's really nice to find a curriculum that teaches that. The handwriting books were fine. We finished them for the year. I don't know that I want to order them again for next year just because of the amount of editing that I had to do in them, the amount of stuff that I did have to take out because it was Christian content that I didn't want in our curriculum. And then with the history curriculum, I liked it, but I the more that we got into it, the more I realized it just wasn't quite going in depth the way that I wanted it to. And a lot of the discussion questions I found myself skipping over because it just, how to say this, like it was just sort of presented in a way that didn't really fit with, I guess, our worldview perhaps. Like the questions just, they weren't discussion questions that I would have chosen for my family. So I ended up switching from the good and the beautiful history and going back to story of the world. So what we decided to do for story of the world was just continue on through the story of the world books and use the story of the world activity books to bring in coloring sheets, because we like to paint the coloring sheets, and different discussion questions, extra books to look at, and other projects to do. And that's worked out really, really well. I think we're going to keep doing that next year also. We're super loving those books. We have always really enjoyed Story of the World, so I'm glad that we're able to keep that going for our family. Okay, so as the year continued to progress, we also started to add in a lot of different things for Judaics, particularly for my older son. With my younger two, what we were doing was working fine, and my oldest still sat in on that because he enjoys it. However, my oldest was definitely wanting more, and so I wanted to give him more. So my son has been learning Mishnah this year with my husband. He's been learning Gemara with a rabbi, and he has been learning Navi, prophets, with me. And he has also been learning Parsha on his own just by reading the actual Parsha and the commentary there. So he has really just kind of done a headfirst dive into these Judaics, and I think it's awesome. So that has been really fun for all of us as well, and become really like a family subject for him, which is super neat also. Another thing that I did that was a big change for us is I sort of redid how we were organizing our days. So at the beginning of the year, it was more like a checklist style. We would just sit down and kind of work until we were done or till we couldn't take it anymore, and then we'd pick back up later. That was okay when the coursework again wasn't so much, but the more coursework that we had, the harder that was becoming for my family. For me as the teacher and for my kids as the students. At that point, I knew I needed to make a change. So I created these schedules for us that I slipped into these plastic sleeves, and they have this hole at the top, so they actually hang up on the wall back here behind me each day that we're doing them. So since it's hung up on the wall back there behind me, the kids can see what we're doing. Even like my youngest, who can't read yet, can look at the pictures and he knows what those things mean. So what this is it's not a schedule, but it's more of a rhythm. I don't even know if I would call it a routine. It's more of a rhythm. So it's got things like wake up, breakfast, pray, walk, go for a walk, and then we come back after this walk, which has been a fantastic addition to our morning, by the way. Then we do Parsha, because I like to start our day with the Torah. And then we do a poetry lesson, a science lesson, and a composer study. This is for Sunday. It changes different subjects every day. And then we do chores, and then they can play until lunch. So then after lunch, they do piano practice, and then we come back to do individual lessons again. And those in the afternoon, for at least for this day, is math, reading, and handwriting. Then after that, they're free to go and play again until dinner, and then they get ready for bed, and then we finish off our evening with a family read aloud. So I have these for 5 days of the week, Sunday through Thursday, and just with some different subjects every day, so that we're covering each subject as many times a week as I want to. And we added in a few extra subjects like Shakespeare, and we have like a symposium time set aside for symposium. Basically what that means to me is that we're kind of sitting down and just talking about like current events, things that are happening in the world at an appropriate level for my kids. And so with this, it also caused me to sit down and really think about what lessons can we do together and what lessons do we need to do separately. So that was another big shift that we made this year, is instead of doing 2 different histories with my first grader and my third grader, they're learning history together, because I was really doing the same level of material with each child pretty much, but it was just at a different period in history. So there's really no point for me to teach history twice when I could just do it once. So we're just both on the same page in history now, and going through that together as a family. Other lessons like handwriting or reading can be done at the same time, just at their own level. Since we switched to the Good and the Beautiful, science is also a family lesson. Poetry is a family lesson. Parsha, of course, was a family lesson. Our artist studies, things like that were all family lessons. Another new subject that we added in also was geography, and that is again a family lesson. For geography, we are using curriculum from Simply Charlotte Mason. We're really enjoying that, and I'll be able to talk more about that as I'm preparing for next year. So of course I will do a whole video of all the curriculum picks that we're using for next year, but that'll be closer to the beginning of the school year. So I have found all of this to be so much more doable for me as the parent. It's so much easier for my kids as the students. They enjoy taking their lessons together. I think they really have a lot of fun learning together and being together while they're doing this like sit down book work here at the table or wherever it is that we're doing it that day. And it's, like I said, so much less overwhelming for me. And the funny thing is, when we switched to this new schedule and kind of some of these new ways of doing things with different curriculum picks and things like that, one of the things that my kids told me, they're like, we hardly do any school anymore. This is so much less school than we used to do. And I kind of had to laugh because we're actually doing a lot more school. We're covering so many more subjects and we're diving deeper into subjects that we were covering before. So I just found that to be kind of interesting. So I'm really happy with where we're at right now. It has been just such a huge shift of a year for us this year. And that's just because I have now 2 children who are in the grades. And we just kind of had to reassess everything because of that. Just having 2 kids that were older who needed so much more out of school. They just need more coursework because there's more that I want for them at these ages. It just meant we had to kind of overhaul everything that we were doing before. And that's okay. This is part of homeschool, is finding what works best for our family. And right now where we're at is what is working best for our family. And I am so, so happy about that. Now it has been hard. It was super hard to switch stuff around multiple times this year, because we stopped a math curriculum after a couple of months and started up a new one. That means we didn't finish the year's math that I had hoped we would finish. So that I do plan to continue over the summer with my kids so that we can at least put a bigger dent in that. Not like every day or anything like that, but just, at least a few times a week, and then we can finish it up next year and then start on the next level of math. And that's basically how I plan to do that. And then there were other things like we would have normally finished the entire story of the world in 1 year. We didn't do that this year because, again, we switched around with our history curriculums. And again, that's okay. History doesn't change that much, so we can just continue on with the book wherever we are. And that really makes sense anyways, just to have that flexibility in that kind of a subject, because if my kids want to take a big deep dive on something, we can pause there and take that deep dive. And if it takes us a month to get through one chapter, because we have done a crazy rabbit hole deep dive going into all kinds of awesome information and projects and field trips on one particular subject that is covered in history, then that is great. Okay, so that is pretty much our year wrap-up summary there. Again, I'm super happy with where we're at now, and I'm excited for next year to start. I've already started planning for that and ordering some materials, so I'll be sharing that with you guys here in a couple of months when it's closer to the beginning of that next school year. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. As always, I super appreciate it. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I would super appreciate it. And drop me a comment down below and let me know what was your favorite subject in school. I would absolutely love to hear it. Let's get that conversation going. All right, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in my next upload. It's an airplane. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and give this